Aloha, everyone from Phoenix, Arizona. I know we have a lot of people here from Washington State. We have our beautiful group, the HHAPI team. Most of them are in Washington State. Tonight's a really special night because we haven't seen a lot of each other in a while. And the last time we held this talk story series with our awesome doctors, so many people got back to our team and said, when are you going to do this again? I didn't get to come. I have questions, so it's an honor to be here. So my name is Selena Mahinalani Garza. My family on my mom's side of the family comes from the island of Maui. My step-up dad that raised us is from Big Island, Kona side. And my biological father is Mexican American and also native by way of Tamaulipas, Mexico, and the Isleta Pueblo de Sioux on the other side of El Paso, Texas. So I live out here in Phoenix, and I'm super grateful to be a part of the HHAPI team and all of the amazing efforts and all of the good work that the HHAPI team has done. And so before we get started in our talk story, we want to, of course, honor Dr. Ka'imi Sinclair and all of the good work that she's done in Indian country and also throughout the Pacific Islands and with our Polynesian people, specifically Native Hawaiians, and the efforts with this HHAPI project. So, of course, if you had the honor and the pleasure to meet her, you knew her laugh and her giggle and her smile. And she became like auntie and sister and friend to you. And I've been so honored to work with her for the last 3.5 years with the Strongmen Project and then with this project. And all of us became Ohana here. So we just want to take, this time for just a moment before we get started to have a moment of silence, and if you're just jumping on for the first time by way of catching a flyer or you weren't a participant prior to tonight, Dr. Ka'imi Sinclair recently passed away, and she was the founder and PI of this study and many, many other studies throughout the years. And so we're just going to take a moment of silence and send some good wishes for everybody that's here so that we move forward with our talk story tonight in a really good way. And then I'll do a land acknowledgement. And that's something that she always made sure that we do in all of our meetings and our Zooms like that. So. So thank you, everyone. I like to think that she's like another guardian angel to all of us. Sometimes I feel her in my ear, and I know probably Nicole and Marla and some of the rest of you are like hearing her go, no, 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 don't do that. Yeah, do that. Oh, you better do this. So really, really cool that that's the type of spirit that she left behind, kind of like an auntie or a tutu grandma. And so since I'm here in the Phoenix area, just want to acknowledge the land that I'm on here, the Akama, O'odham, Peepash, Maricopa people, and also the Salt River people and the Gila River people reside here. Up north is the Hopi people, and then just on the other side, the Akchin people, the Papago people. And then we are right here, smack in the middle, like 15 minutes away from Phoenix, Arizona. So let's get to the good stuff because I'm excited. The last time we were here, we got to hear from, Lei. She's with the Hawaiian Civic Club and all of the good work that they're doing in Oregon. She actually told me she lives in Aloha, Oregon. I was like, wow, no way. Whoa, that's so awesome. So want to take a moment to introduce the HHAPI team, if that's okay. And then you guys can just say hi and introduce yourselves real quick. And then we will get to introducing our beautiful doctors that we have here tonight. So if Nicole, you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go over to Marla.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nicole. Nicole Lee Kabakahiolani Ellison, and I'm very excited to welcome back all three of our fabulous doctors this evening. I can't believe it's been since the summertime, so that went by very quickly. But yes, welcome back, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say this evening.
Thanks, Nicole. Marla.
Aloha, my name is Marla Olahilani Barhum, and I am the peer educator, one of the peer educators for the HHAPI program. And I am always excited to hear from these wonderful doctors and just excited to learn more tonight. So thank you again. We're very grateful that you could all be here tonight to share your EK with us. So
Yes.
mahalo.
Signet, you want to say hi?
Hi, I thought I unmuted myself the first time. I'm Signy. I'm the research assistant for the HHAPI program. I'm excited to be here tonight as well, and very much looking forward to the questions that our people here have, and excited to see more people coming in. Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anybody else that I missed? I still see people coming in, so perfect timing. Anybody else from the team? So we are still recruiting for our project. So if you're interested, definitely just click on the link. If you saw that on social media, you can also get in touch with Nicole or Marla, any of us. We'd be happy to help you. And so it's really an honor to have this opportunity to hear from doctors and scientists that are here and people who were also connected to Dr. Kaimi. But also our project is just really inspired by the work that you do and how you give back to the community so selflessly. Probably some of you are still working. So it would be awesome to introduce all of you. You can wave and then introduce yourself too. But just real quick, I first want to introduce the ladies, if that's okay with you, Dr. Fui. Dr. Kevehi Au is a native Hawaiian and of Maori descent, and she received her MD at the University of Utah School of Medicine in 2008, and she completed a combined residency in both internal medicine and pediatrics in 2012. So she loves kids, she loves the babies, and is board certified in both. And she formally practiced as a hospitalist and oversaw the education of medical students and residents in pediatrics, and now works as an outpatient clinician. She specializes in both internal and with pediatrics. So she really does love the keiki. So thank you. If you would like to just introduce yourself real quick, we'll then move on to the next doctor.
Yeah, that's about everything. That's it.
I'm sure that your bio goes long and long and long. I was just at a conference and there was like 3 pages of a bio, and I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad that our poly doctors are like, just shrink it up and then they'll tell you all about it later. And if you have questions, I'm sure that we'll have some time at the very end for some questions.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
The next doctor, Dr. Sells, you know, there's a Sells, Arizona down over here. She was born and raised in Cedar City, Utah. After high school, she went back to her roots and attended Brigham Young University, Hawaii, where she double majored in exercise and sports science and Hawaiian studies. She attended University of Utah School of Medicine and pursued family medicine, trained at Utah Valley Family Medicine residency program, and she returned to Hawaii and practiced at several rural community health centers and clinics and enjoyed serving the underrepresented and underserved. And she's currently teaching, oh my goodness, is that Naroda? You can tell us. And she has a priority of spending time with and caring for her 4 keiki ranging from 17 to 4. Oh my gosh, how are you a doctor? That's like busy, busy, busy. She loves hula dancing, cooking, piano, paddle boarding, and going to the beach with her kids. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to say hello and say anything else.
Just happy to be back here again.
Thank you so much for being here. All right. And then I was just saying, as we were saying hello, Dr. Malik Fui, and that's Fui for short, right? He's awesome. I was telling him I just had a little nephew born a month ago. His name is Malik too. So thank you for being here. He is currently the medical director of the hospitalist program and core facility of the internal medicine residency program. And he's also a clinical professor with PNW Medical School and specializes in internal medicine. And we're excited to have him and all the doctors here with us and everybody else that's here tonight to share your mana'o, to share your knowledge and your important wisdom and understanding of health topics impacting our people. And please hold your questions to the end. If you do have something that you'd like to add or share, you can share that in the chat and then we can get to those at the end. So thank you so much for being here. All of you really, really appreciate you so much. And Dr. Fui, did you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Yeah, it's hello for everybody. I'm married with 4 kids up here in Melbourne in Washington. So I'm a busy guy when I'm not at work. I just want to shout out to the Toa Samoa rugby team who's playing Australia this weekend. So my whole family's excited about that. So any Samoans out there waving the Samoan flag, I'm waving my flag too. So shout out to the Toa Samoa rugby team. So thank you.
Nice. Awesome. I saw there's a parade happening in downtown Phoenix over here. I'm sure that that's part of that. I didn't get to go check it out, but awesome. Well, good luck to Samoa. So did you know that almost half of all adult Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders have high blood pressure or hypertension, and also a third have diabetes? What I also understand is that if you have one, more than likely you'll have another. So if your doctor has not addressed that, it's important for them to check for both of those things if they have not said that to you. So in traditional Pacific Island cultures, our people were fit and strong, and they fished and farmed, hunted, and protected their communities. Traditional diets consisted of course, okay, if everybody hasn't eaten dinner, get ready for all this because it might make you hungry. We fished for banana, taro, yams, breadfruit, and then shellfish. These are the foods that are not high in sugar, fat, and salt. So Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders' food sources were primarily plant-based prior to colonization. So why is plant-based eating so popular now? And what are the key benefits to the human body? Do any of you want to share a little bit about that, doctors?
I guess I'll start looking at each other. So I think in medicine, we kind of see a pendulum swing back and forth. And now people are looking for more natural ways and natural things. I always throw out the little caveat that just because it says that it's plant-based, be very careful because white rice and white sugars and processed foods can also be plant-based and derived, and so it's being very aware of that. But I mean, there's a lot of benefits from eating whole and natural foods. It can support our immune system. We get most of our nutrients that we need, the vitamins, minerals, and I'm sure many of you have heard about antioxidants. And so we get a lot of those things from those plant-based foods. Those kind of help reduce inflammation in our bodies, and that chronic inflammation, it creates wear and tear over time and can lead to chronic disease. Eating a healthier diet also helps us maintain a healthier weight. And then it can also kind of lower our cancer risk.
You summarized so much, and they're all just laughing in the background like, huh, she said a lot. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, there's a lot of new studies that show the benefit of plant-based diet. Yet, like Dr. Sells was saying, there's a lot of pendulum that we all have this fad diet that comes and goes, but um, I feel like plant-based is what a lot of focus is on. Basically, mainly because it's organic, right? It's not produced. A lot of the cancer that are linked directly to processed food is the reason why there's a shift to more plant-based, organic, diet. Though, it's something that we in the islands are aware of. I know before the introduction of stocks and shipping of canned food to the islands, though, a lot of us were maintaining our diets from what we grow in the land, though, which is, coconuts, taro, bananas. I mean, those are, I don't need to tell everybody here, though, the benefits of those, though, and how healthy those foods are. But again, I feel like a lot of us at one point used a lot of that, but now with the Western diet coming through, though, a lot of our people are opting for more convenient ways of eating. Again, fast food, a lot of processed food are cheaper right now. I know the inflation rate and the prices of food in the markets are going crazy. So a lot of people are opting for things like that are easy to grab, though. But again, we need to go back to our roots and go back to where our ancestors, thrived for hundreds of years without medicine because they were eating the right diet. So I like to say that, that's where easier said than done, because a lot of us have great taste of meat and we love our barbecues, but, slowly adapting that kind of diet might take a while, but there is science behind it, though, that there's a lot of benefits. So I encourage people to kind of try that, see if we could substitute a lot of our protein that we use right now and processed food with healthy vegetables, fruits, and and the benefits are there. So I definitely recommend that. So
Yeah, I don't have much to add to what they've already said, but I mean, I remember when I was in school, we read, our anthropology professor had us read a book called Samoan Villages Then and Now. They talked about like the lifestyle of the Samoan people, and then how like Western civilization had moved towards like so much technology, but it took away, it required more of a work day. So they said the Samoans, they worked for 8 hours, they had leisure time for 8 hours, and they slept for 8 hours. And at the end of the day, they said like, who's got more like who has a more content life, who's got more leisure time, who spends more time like working for their families and everything. And when you think about like the way that the diet is now, right, like how Dr. Fuiamaono like was talking about the diet is more convenient. So they moved us towards things that are supposed to be like instant and fast and like out of a package, but those things didn't take any of our labor to produce, right? Like we go to work, but we're not like working to like grow our food or to harvest our food or take care of a garden. So you've lost that energy expenditure. The food that we eat has much more calories, more salt to preserve it, like things like that. So you're losing so much of the nutritional value and gaining so much more of the non-nutritional value, which causes us to gain weight. You don't feel healthy, you don't feel energized, you feel sluggish. And so you exercise even less. So it's just this vicious cycle. And so going back to, teaching our kids how to eat healthy, that this is how you fuel your body. It's got to taste good, but it also has to be good for you. And it starts when you're young. I think it's great to involve kids in like shopping for food. If you don't have a garden, like shop for food and say like, okay, which vegetables do you want to pick and how are we going to, incorporate them into our diet, and just make sure that when we buy them, they don't just stay in the fridge and go bad. So I think a lot of that goes, like involving the whole family in learning how to eat healthy and learning how to fuel our bodies properly. Okay, that's all.
No, it's really good. I'm so glad that we started this conversation out, with food. And I think that that's the missing key with a lot of the time when we go to the doctor, we're looking for answers or, quick fixes with medication, and so to start out this way, we all eat, we all enjoy eating, especially Pacific Island poly people. We love to eat. That's the way that we all connect. It's something that we have to do every day to survive. So some of the things that you mentioned, I know that our audience here, have taken some really good information to heart, and talk to your doctor about maybe some foods, right? And some ideas like that. And if you don't have a dietitian or a nutritionist, maybe that's something that you can look into more, but some of those simple things. So one of the next things I know we wanted to talk about and touch on too is traditional healers and plant-based medicines prior to colonization. And what would you say are the benefits of seeking more natural medicine versus traditional Western medicine? Is it good to have a mix of both, and why or why not? And we'll start with Dr. Sells again. Maybe some feedback on that. What do you think? Is it good to have a mix of both, the natural, opposed to the traditional, and why or why not?
Well, and I feel like we need both, and I think there's benefit to both, because we need to have that connection, and then there's other things that we have. We also have to realize that we have technology and we have developed medicines and vaccines that we didn't have before, and so there's a lot of things that we can, a lot of good that we can do and things that we can prevent. And when I hear this question, I actually was thinking about many years ago, back in my glory days, when I was working on double-hulled sailing canoes, and I actually got to be a part of the building of HHAPI. And so I worked a lot with the master carvers, and one was a Tongan man, Tuione Pulotu. And I remember them asking him the question, because he carved that canoe with a chainsaw. And they're like, well, you're trying to rebuild culture and practices that were almost lost. And so should we be going back to the ways that our ancestors built canoes? And and I love his reply, because he said, no, our ancestors were smart, and they would use what they had access to. And if they had a chainsaw, they would have used a chainsaw because it's much faster. And so I think it is a mix. It is combining those traditional values and those traditional things that we have with the technology and the advances, and recognize that we can embrace both, and that when we utilize both, we can actually be better. And even if you look at the medicines that we have, they all originated from something natural. And so, yeah, I prefer not to take a medicine if we can eat well and get enough sleep and do those things that are part of a healthy lifestyle. That's the best way. But there's times when maybe we need a medicine to get over a bacterial infection, or sometimes those lifestyle changes take time. It's a process to change our diet. And so small little changes every day, but in the meantime, we need to get that blood pressure down. And so we use a medicine, and I always tell my patients, I hope that I'm just using this medicine as a bridge, so that we can lower that blood pressure, lower our risk of having a stroke, while we work on making those lifestyle changes. And the greatest day in my practice is when I get to pull off medicines or lower the dose, because somebody is making the progress and making those little changes.
I like how you use the word bridge. I think we need to continue to think about that too, using traditional medicine and then seeking the guidance and advice of doctors who will give you those suggestions of the good bridges that you mentioned, and to be able to find a really good balance. How about you, Dr. Al?
Yeah, I think the focus of holistic medicine is just to make sure you got like mind, body, and spirit, that you're taking care of all three. If you're not taking care of one of them, the others are going to suffer. So I think just making sure that you find a healthcare approach that combines all three. And I mean, when you talk about natural medicine, I mean, there's nothing more natural than exercise, good sleep, and eating healthy. Like those are the first prescriptions that I give anyone, honestly, like for improving their lifestyle. And the man and I just talked to some pre-med students the other day and like encouraged them, like, don't pull all-nighters. Your brain's not going to work well if you're not sleeping well. So go to bed at 11, wake up at 7, whatever you got to do to get your 8 hours, and go exercise. So like, the lifestyles that we have now, if you lived back then, your exercise was included in your work. You're working outside, so you got exercise at the same time. But now I'm inside all day long, so I have to exercise separate from my work. So I'll be the first to admit it's not easy to exercise every day and take care of that part of your physical health, but it needs to be done. So we just need to make sure that we're taking care of, mind, body, and spirit, and getting that exercise and a good sleep in.
How about you, Dr. Fu? Do you have anything to
Yeah, I
add?
remember my grandmother wrapping some medicine out of the bark of a tree, put it in water and squeeze it in my mouth as a kid. It tasted awful, but I remember feeling better the next day. So, I mean, those are thousands of year tradition, so I can't discredit that though. And I talked to people about my culture, and they say we do have traditional healers though. And I agree with Dr. Sells though that I can't discredit it's either modern medicine or old medicine. I feel like both have its role, but as a trained medical doctor, I use prescription medications though. The reason why I use that is because I see the benefit. There's studies where they give these medications to thousands of people and have confirmed the safety of those, and it showed the effects. And just to remind our viewers, though, that for thousands of years we were isolated from the world, right? When the colonizers and people came to our island, they brought certain diseases, though, that were not part of how we heal ourselves, right? So again, now we're talking about the Western diet, and now we're becoming obese. We're dealing with diabetes, hypertension. Those diseases did not exist back in the days, though. So I'll be honest and say though that a lot of our traditional medications have its role, but for us to kind of treat modern diseases, we need to use modern medications though. And I know there's a lot of people who either go modern or traditional. And I know in the Samoan community, a lot of the people who have cancer and they try chemo and they run out of options, they usually resort to traditional medication as a last resort though. So, not to discredit our traditional healers, I feel like they do have their roles. There are certain diseases, that's common in the island or to our people where you could heal with traditional things though. But mind you though that, modern medication has a measurement, right? When we bring a plant though and make medications out of it, we have no idea how much of the part that works though are in those medications. So it's really hard for scientists to say though that, hey, this plant has this and you need this amount though. Most of the time it's just it's up to the person who's doing the medicine to kind of come up with how much and who to give it to. But again, I will go with that modern medicine first, and then if you do want to try traditional medicine, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, stick with your modern medications though, because those are through science that's shown that they're really effective. And I know a lot of you guys who take medications, compare yourself to before and after taking the medications. You don't need me to kind of show you that it works though, because you feel the benefit of it, right? So again, as a Polynesian and grew up in the islands and aware of the traditional healers, I don't discredit them. I feel like they do have a role in taking care of our people, but I would prefer, because I was trained in prescribing modern medication. modern medication. So that's something I know, though I'm not really sure about the traditional stuff, because I'm trained in the modern, how to be a doctor and prescribing those medications. So
I love all of that. I really appreciate your good feedback. And I think that it was presented in a way that our audience can understand it. And I think sometimes when we go to the doctor looking for answers and stuff, our doctors speak this academia that we have no idea what they're saying. And we just have to, say, okay, well, I'll take the prescription, and then we'll figure it out later. So I'm glad that you gave the advice to say this can help you become a better self-manager, really, and I'll try to figure out what will be best for you. Listen to your doctor's suggestions too, but if there is traditional medicine or natural medicine that works, come back and let's do it together. So I'm glad that you all had mentioned all that. So what would you say would be some healthy habits that we should focus on for ourselves, our keiki, because now we're seeing these kids all growing up in the public food systems, that they're eating public school food, and then especially our kupuna, thinking about our elders like that. And we're taking care of them now. We're making sure that they're taking their meds and that they're following up with their doctors. What would you all say, what would be some of those healthy habits that we should focus on for ourselves and for our kids too, and then also for our kupuna? And anyone can jump in and answer.
Actually, really quick, want to go back to what we were just talking about. So Dr. Fuiamaono mentioned this last time, I believe, but when considering taking medication that's not studied well, because that's the nice thing about science, right? People are given the medication, we monitor for a long time for good effects and bad effects. Well, there are a lot of natural medications that are not regulated by the FDA. You don't know how much you're getting, and you can, some of them can cause liver failure. So just know that just because something is labeled as natural doesn't mean it's safe. And also know that many over-the-counter medications, herbal supplements and stuff aren't regulated by the FDA and can cause a lot of adverse effects. So just be very careful with that. But you guys weren't here last time. We talked about that at the last time. But anyway, so you're talking about what healthy habits to have. Okay. I think sleeping a good amount of time during a normal amount, a normal time of night, during your body's normal circadian rhythm is very important. I think eating healthy, 3 healthy meals a day at least, and some healthy snacks in between. And I think getting outside, exercising, and also spending time with friends and family, just getting that good social interaction is important too. I think those are the main healthy habits I think that all of us should follow, but yeah, I'll let you guys have some input too.
No, I think those are actually all great things to start with. And I just always recommend, and we've kind of, I think, mentioned it, is to just make small changes. Sometimes it's really hard to, and we know where we want to be. And if we try to do everything all at once, maybe I'm just talking about myself, is then we end up giving up. So it's just too hard. It's just too hard to eat healthy every day. But maybe we can cut out 1 soda a day. And then when we're really good at that, then we can make another change. And so maybe it's, okay, instead of doing 3 scoop rice, I'm only going to do 1 or 2 scoop rice. And so it's making those small little things, and then start with yourself. Be a good example, because when your keiki watch you, they're influenced by that same behavior. And then they'll start making those same choices, and then make it a kako thing. Involve everybody. Involve your children in making healthy meals. Let them choose. Let them help plan the menu, because you're more likely to stick with it if you have a team that you're held accountable for, and if everybody's involved.
When we say about good habits, we can't ignore the bad habits, right? So alcohol, no drinking, alcohol, illegal drugs. I know there's a big percentage of our populations who abuse drugs and as well as other illegal drugs. So those are part of the things we should avoid. Again, I think everybody knows all the good habits you need though, like it's already mentioned by the doctors, but I feel like small changes, I agree. Small increment changes, and you add it all up though, it makes big changes. I think people are so impatient to see results though. I know that's the American way, to kind of look for instant gratifications of things we do, but Rome wasn't built in a day though. So your health is a daily challenge though. I mean, you have to make sure that you discipline yourself to kind of make the right choices, right food, or rather be going out for a walk. And again, I want to reiterate though that when doctors say exercise, we don't mean go join a gym and work out for 3 hours a day. Exercise could be any sort of movements though. It could be playing some Hawaiian music and hula to it. That's you burning calories though. And I feel like a little bit of calories and making it a habit every day goes a long way though. We have 24 hours a day though. If you set aside 10, 15 minutes of every day though, like I said though, that small amount of work is going to add up though. But again, like I say, it's a daily challenge though. I mean, all of us go through that. Even the Rock has cheat days where he's eating all this pancakes though. But I mean, if he's doing that, nobody's perfect, right? So he's very disciplined. But for us, is to give yourself some slack though. None of us wants you to starve yourself or go to the fat diet and go to the gym. It's it's a daily struggle though, and if you make those small right changes every day, then you're going to see the results eventually. So
All such really, really good stuff. And I'm so glad that you mentioned, the small changes that will start to create better habits. And I think that's what's really awesome about the HHAPI project is we talk about specifically those things, creating healthy plans of action that you can incorporate the whole family, to do together. And I like how you mentioned that also. It's like when we start to do some of these things, everyone's watching. Our keki's always watching us, right? And then we prepare this big meal and then we're feeding our kupuna. So it's really important that if we want to make small changes to incorporate the family, because the kids will tell you. I remember working in one of our intervention studies, we asked the whole family, what do you want to do? And the keiki would say, well, we want to go outside and go to the park and go walking, with grandma and mom and dad. And then I go back to visit 30 days later and say, how's that working out? And the parents would say, yeah, we did it. It was great. And then the keiki would be looking at the parents and then shaking their head. No, they didn't do that, right? So the keikis are always watching us. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And then really appreciate, Dr. Fui, how you mentioned, some of those bad habits, no smoking and no drinking, and then the illegal drugs, some of that too is taking your prescriptions as prescribed. We're seeing a lot of people who are abusing prescription medication, selling medication, or people that are actually stealing medication from our kupuna. So I think it's important that we lock some of those things up. You don't want your keiki to go try to experiment or take things to school, stuff like that. So I did want to mention that, but it gives us a good segue into, the next thing that we want to talk about is, Native Hawaiian high school students have tried vaping. We're hearing about, now, oh, well, vaping's better than, instead of smoking, let's vape. We're vaping less. But in fact, 37.6% of Native Hawaiian middle school students have even tried vaping. And 63% of Native Hawaiian high schoolers are vaping right now. So that's huge. And they think that it's safer, or it tastes better. It doesn't stink as much because it's flavored. And I think that it's important to know that research shows that more than 60 chemicals are inhaled in a single vape hit. So they have this cartridge and they have this battery operated. And I even think I saw something that said that they're inhaling aluminum when you're vaping. I recently saw that. So, it's highly addictive. And when you're trying to smoke, there's other things that you can use to, reduce your smoking and reduce tobacco. And you should talk to your doctor about that instead of moving over to something else like vaping. So why are our youth vaping? Does anybody want to jump in and talk about that? Have you seen, cases of vaping, or have you heard? I think that's important that we talk about that. It's like really affecting our whole communities.
It's the age where friends and like their peers really matter to them. So I've read a lot of articles about it just being the popular thing to do. So that's how it starts. But studies show that usually leads to smoking. Like most people who vape will end up smoking eventually. So I think, just having that conversation with your kids and talking to them about the seriousness of it, being a good example yourself. Almost everything that we need to talk to our kids about, kids actually do want to talk with you about it. And if you don't talk to them about it, their friends are going to talk to them about it. And who's going to give them more accurate information? It's going to be you. So have those conversations with them, and I think you'll be, we'll all be surprised about how much it actually impacts them.
And I saw this more than I wish I did in my clinic, and I feel like the age was getting younger and younger. And so probably very passionate about this topic. And if you look at so there's the National Youth Tobacco Survey that goes out. And so the most recent one that we have results for was done in 2021. And this looks at all youth. And so there's about 2.5 million adolescents that have used any kind of tobacco product in the last 30 days. That's huge. 2.5 million in 30 days have tried some type of tobacco product. 2 million of those are high schoolers, and then 500,000 of those are middle schoolers. And so it is concerning that that's so young. I've got a high schooler and I have one who's getting close to that middle school. And with that being so readily available, I know as a parent that's scary. And so it's having those conversations. It's also recognizing when our youth have challenges, because they might, the most common reported reason why they first tried was their friends were using it. And then for continued use, some of it was just to get the high. About 40% of kids reported that it was just to get the high, and then another 40% reported that they used it because they felt anxious, stressed, or depressed. And so being open and honest with our youth and recognizing those things so that we can hopefully help them find resources and better outlets to use those things. And now more and more, it's not just nicotine that they're adding in to those solutions. There's marijuana, methamphetamines. And so there's a lot more that goes into it. And a lot of times they don't even know what is in the solutions that they're vaping. And so it's having those conversations and being aware, educating ourselves so that we can have those informed conversations with our youth.
I totally agree, though, that I'm pretty sure all of us parents talk to our kids about smoking, but the vaping seems to be smoking, masquerading as something harmless. If you look at vaping and the flavors they're used, though, a lot of people use it don't know how harmful it is, though, and that's misleading, though. And again, I feel like it's important for us parents to have that talk specifically about vaping. If you already have the cigarette talk, you need the vaping talk, because that's what our youth is using right now. Again, peer pressure, if their friends are doing it. But again, us parents are, the key to making sure that our kids are staying away from this harmful harmful products. One of the things I remember before COVID, though, there was a vaping related lipoid pneumonia. There was a lot of people, young people who was vaping, ended up in a hospital, actually going on a ventilator, and actually some of them died though. And then through investigation, they found out it was related to vaping, you know. But again, when the vaping came out though, it was masquerading as a very harmful, sweet smelling, you know, you can smoke it anywhere, it won't bother anybody, as you know, that was the way they presented it. But now we know though there's a lot of harm. People have died from it. I've seen personally a guy who died in the hospital because of vaping, you know, and you know, for me though, that was like shocking, you know, because you know, I too seen the ads though. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not. At one point though, they were saying vaping was a way to cut smoking, but you know, it ended up showing that people who vape though actually start smoking cigarette as a result though, just to get more of that nicotine addiction that they develop. So again, the word is to making sure that we talk to our kids about vaping. It seems like there's a lot of you know, kids are using it. It's becoming a pandemic, so it's up to us, community. You know, it could be in our school, it could be in our churches, it could be in our own families, that we need to put the word out to our kids to stay away from this, though. So yeah, it's really bad stuff.
Before we move on to the next segment, because we know we really want to honor time, do any of the doctors want to share like the impacts of vaping on the body and the brain, just real quickly?
I'll go on. I actually just did a presentation on vaping, so this was perfect timing. So the biggest thing is we need to be honest with our youth. E-cigarettes, vaping have only been out for about 10 years. So I don't think we've fully seen the damage it can cause. And I think we need to be honest with our youth about that, because they're smart and they can look up information. But then we can tell them what we do know. And so we do know that it creates kind of oxidative stress. It creates inflammation, and actually long-term vaping can lead to atherosclerosis, which is that plaque buildup in our vessels that leads. Dr. Fui already talked about the lung damage, and it can be very severe, and we've lost people. Some things that people don't even think about is you are taking a very volatile liquid and you are putting a spark and you're lighting it. If you're smoking that near your face, a lot of those malfunction and they've blown up, and we've seen patients with burns on their face, or even youngsters who are messing with the device, and younger kids who have severe burns from the device itself. And then we're starting to see similar effects that mimic smoking. So you have DNA damage, which that's what cancer is. It is DNA that's been damaged, and you have increased blood pressure, dependence. And then when you look at studies that have looked at urine of vapors and smokers, they're very similar, but those who vape actually have more chemicals in their urine compared to people who actually just smoke. So that's a few. There's actually several more, but those are kind of the bigger ones.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. It makes me scared for our kids because their friends are doing it. And we're seeing it all over the place, even indoors when we go somewhere. Well, it's a vape, so you can't smell it or you can't see it. And in fact, you're seeing these huge puffs, you know, and they're getting all those chemicals. It's crazy. So, you know, being mindful of time, I just want to, you know, if we can get to this kind of last as we wrap up, and then maybe have about 5 minutes if anybody has some burning questions that they want to ask the doctors. With the holidays approaching, and of course we're thinking about all the onolicious food, you know, we have 3 Thanksgivings in our family, and I'm sure all of you, you know, have one for work and all of that kind of stuff. When we're thinking about the holidays approaching, what does a healthy plate look like? And how can we ensure that we're not overindulging, you know, that we're not going back for thirds and fourths and all of that? What are some good portion controls and you know, if you want to add like maybe what should we be doing so that we can help ourselves so we can enjoy the holidays instead of having sore stomach.
Yeah, I would say the smaller the plate, the better. um, I feel like when people use a smaller plate though, rather than a big one, they could go through that plate and have time for their brain to kind of figure out if you're full or not. You know, if you have a bigger plate though, and I know a lot of us, I'm pretty sure your mom has, you know, you're not leaving that table until you finish that plate, right? So a lot of us have this bad habit of, oh, we can't waste the food. You know, my mom said kids in Africa are starving. I can't waste any food or she'll sasami, you know. That's in the past, right? I feel like having so don't don't overindulge and put a lot on your plate though. Start small. As smaller the plate, the better. And that will give you time to kind of go through that and then decide, okay, am I still hungry or not? Then get another plate though. I feel like that trick is easier said than done, you know, for us islanders because we grab the largest plate. But I think just for this season though, I mean, just start with that though and see if that really helps you kind of cut down on your EML because again, the amount of calories, if you eat too much calories in though, and you don't burn it out though, it will turn to fat though. And I would say though, if you eat a lot, make sure you go out and walk a lot or do some activities to try to burn those calories down. I know a lot, you know, it's getting colder. Maybe Arizona is not that cold, but you can do things inside the house though, right? Walk on a treadmill, go for a walk, you know, dance. Try to burn those calories off because if you don't burn it off though, then they will store in your body as fat though. And you know, with the Thanksgiving coming in, the New Year's, Christmas, so there's a lot of calories coming our way. And hey, all of us are going to enjoy the food though. But if you're the person who's really trying to get the weight of goal of losing weight or controlling your diabetes or your blood pressure, discipline yourself. Make sure that you enjoy it, but not over indulge because that's where we run into trouble. So.
I love the shrink the plate. That's what I tell all my patients to do. Is one of the biggest issues we face is portion control. And when you shrink your plate and you put your food on that plate, you think, oh, that's plenty food. I'm gonna get full off of that. But then if you take that same portion and you put it on a big plate, then you look at that and your brain thinks, oh, that's only a little bit. I'm still gonna be hungry by the time I need to go grab more. And so shrinking that plate size does several things. The other thing, and this has been mentioned previously, is don't be hard on yourself, especially around the holidays. Build in some cheat days. We're all allowed to not be perfect. And I think if you build a cheat day in, then you're not so hard on yourself. Because sometimes when we get hard on ourselves, then we, depending on some people, eat to deal with their stress or their anxiety. And so you don't want to kind of create this cycle. But I tell my patients, plan in a birthday, plan in Christmas, plan in Thanksgiving, and make sure that it's just on that day. And then the rest of the week, you're trying to make better choices, that you're really watching that portion size. And for the most part, when I recommended that to my patients and they eat well the whole week and they have their cheat day, they notice a difference in how they feel and their energy level. And so it's almost motivating so that the next day they're back to eating better because they feel better when they eat better.
Yeah, so Mamiko Garvey, she wrote that her nutritionist for her kids once told them to wait for 15 minutes before going for seconds. I think that's a great idea just because I personally have the same issue. Like I don't feel full for till half an hour after I ate. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm really full, you know? So just try to give yourself some time just to let the food settle and see if you feel full, pay attention to your body. And then also just try to make look at your plate and see if you can make half of that vegetables, if at all possible. That is a good way to make sure you're getting the right kind of fuel in your body. So half vegetables, maybe like a quarter of that protein and a quarter of it carbs. So
all really good stuff. I was just thinking as you were all talking about the portion control and the smaller plate. I know in our family and a lot of the other families, we don't like to clean up because you're so full. Maybe we need to all invest in the small kind throwaway paper plates. Then no one can have big plates. Hide the big plates and then just bring in the small plates. And yeah, it'll just make cleanup easier. Just everybody invest in some smaller plates. So this has been already an hour, everyone. We are close to closing, and I wanted to give an opportunity if anybody had a question for the doctors before we say farewell for now. If anybody had anything that they'd like to share, you're welcome to do that in the chat. But if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself real quick. And I think we have time for maybe one or two. And then we'll need to wrap it up. We really like to honor time like that. Hopefully we have fast typers. If somebody wanted to chime in, you can chime in on the chat. And definitely if there are any questions, you're always welcome to send a text or send an email to the HHAPI Project. You can message us on Facebook and we can send some of those questions back to the doctors. And of course, reach out to your own PCP as well. And this has been a really good opportunity, an amazing talk story opportunity as well. And so we want to thank the doctors for being with us today. Dr. Al, Dr. Sells, Dr. Fui, we really appreciate you. We, just really honor you like that you're giving back to our community, giving up your evening to be with us and still smiling. It's 9 o'clock here in Phoenix. I feel my eyes getting drier because I'm getting tired. But I feel really good that we were able to just share in a really good way and talk about food. We all like to eat. It's almost Thanksgiving. And it would be really exciting to be able to have another talk story discussion. And maybe we can ask our participants that want to join to send in some of those questions beforehand so that the doctors can answer some of those questions. And so, just to let you all know, the HHAPI Project is still recruiting, like I mentioned in the very beginning. It includes the health study if you haven't participated yet. If you have participated, we would love for you to refer your family and your friends, share about it on social media. If you have prediabetes, that also is being included. Before it was just including people with diabetes. Now we are also in fact recruiting people who are pre-diabetic, and then also high blood pressure, hypertension. So if you know somebody who does, you can always go to our website at iamhappy.org for more information. Facebook and Instagram also has a spot where you can send a message for your interest. Each participant, they receive up to $200 in free groceries. There's your opportunity to buy some of those healthy groceries. Christmas is coming, and then $250 in gift cards and up to $450 in incentives. So you guys, my mom participated, my auntie participated, so many of our friends and family participated, and I've only heard amazing things about this project. And of course, we have these awesome doctors who are supporting our efforts and who are coming to our Talk Story series. So if you're interested, please let us know. And again, mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much, doctors, for being with us tonight and for allowing us to record this. So if there was somebody who wasn't able to see this, we definitely can send it to you possibly, or we'll post it somewhere to share it. So in closing, if any of you have anything that you'd like to share or say farewell, this will be the opportunity to do that. Everybody's so shy, so shy. Everybody's minding their
So-
manners and everything tonight.
So I want to share, it's called the Harvard Happiness Study. You can Google it, though. It's 80 years of study by Harvard University to figure out what's the key to good health, though. So the end of the study, though, showed that happiness was resulted of meaningful relationship. So the people they studied, though, were happy, and they found out that these people had meaningful relationship, meaning they have good family support. They keep in touch with their friends. Again, any islander know that our family is the center of our culture, though. So, we are talking about medications and all that, but don't lose sight of your family, though, right? In the holidays, there might be some family members you haven't talked to in a while. Make sure that you don't leave them alone for these holidays. We've seen a lot of suicide in the hospital around this time of the year. So just a reminder, though, for our families to reach out to our family members. COVID has really separated all of us, and it's about time that we get back to our, eating healthy, exercising, but having those meaningful connection, meeting our families, though. So most of the sickest people I see in the hospital, I ask them, "Where's your family?" It's like, "I live alone, doctor." And then I can make the connection that it's a result of them being so lonely, though. Loneliness is such a big epidemic here in the US, even worse with the isolation with COVID. So I remind everybody to, Thanksgiving next year, week, I wish you all your family Thanksgiving, showing gratitude. And again, I really advise our community and our people to reach out to our loved ones or our friends who haven't talked in a while, just to make sure that they're doing okay this holiday seasons. And I wish everybody happy holidays. Thank you so much.
Well, in closing, thank you. If any of the doctors want to say farewell, because we're on the hour now. So thank you for that good medicine, Dr. Fui, and sharing that, because happiness, laughter, connecting again, socialization, getting back to sharing a meal together, just even talking story over the phone is so important. A lot of our elders also have been left behind. So call grandma, call auntie or somebody else's auntie if you don't have an auntie, and maybe volunteer. If you don't have a family during the holidays, make some food and deliver it somewhere, and maybe share like that too. So it's all about that during the holiday season. So thank you all so much. Have a good night and take care of yourselves. Thank you.